Hi and welcome to Food Fix. Today we're doing a beautiful tomato-based dish. So tomatoes are naturally really high in antioxidants, and there's some evidence to show that cooked tomatoes are actually better for us than raw ones. So what we're doing today is my version of a Moroccan style baked eggs. You could have this for breakfast or for lunch. It's really simple. We're using a beautiful variety of different coloured tomatoes to make the dish look gorgeous. And the ingredients basically for today are the tomato selection that we have here, a couple of tins of crushed tomatoes. We have a selection of spices. So here we have smoked paprika, some ground coriander, some sea salt and some cracked black pepper. Then we have half a chopped onion, a couple of cloves of finely chopped garlic, and some fresh chilli. The chilli is optional, but I love chilli and I think it really brings another element to this dish. Olive oil, obviously, to start the cooking process, and then we have our eggs that we're going to crack in later. Some fresh parsley. You can also use coriander to use as a garnish at the end. So before we get started, I'm just going to chop up some of these tomatoes. Now we can move everything over to the stove. Add in our olive oil. Firstly, we want to saute the onions until they're relatively soft, but try and leave the garlic until just a little bit after, because you don't want the garlic to burn. As soon as it burns, it turns quite bitter. Okay, so now that the onions have softened slightly, they've gone a little bit more translucent in colour, we're going to add in the garlic and the rest of the chilli and just saute that for a further minute or so, just to release the flavours. So next we're going to add in our spices. And as soon as that starts cooking, you'll be able to smell all of the aromas in the air. It smells beautiful. In there you go. So just cook these until they're slightly softened. We don't want them to turn to mush. We want them to still hold a little bit of their body. A lot of recipes with this actually use sausage or a chorizo, which adds a really lovely flavour. We're now going to add in the crushed tomatoes, so the tin tomatoes. So they'll just go in and we'll let that get hot before we add in the eggs. So just give that a nice stir. What we want to do is almost make like a little bit of an indent in the sauce, and we'll add each egg to each little indent so that it cooks on the bottom a little bit as well as on the top. Break it in, and then we'll do a couple on this side. And then I've just got the oven on about 150 degrees fan forced on the grill. So this is then going to go in the oven for no longer than a few minutes, just to cook the tops of the eggs so that the yolks stay nice and runny. And then we'll get ready to put them into the oven and bake the tops. Okay, so this is now ready to go into the oven, and that's on a grill, so we're just putting the eggs on top, and we want to put the pan in the oven for no more than about 3 minutes or so. Just make sure, obviously, the pan that you're using has a metal handle and not a plastic one, otherwise it will melt and you'll have a mess. Very carefully bring it over, and you'll see on top that the eggs have just glazed over, so sort of like a poached egg in a way. So we're just going to use some parsley, just chop it up, so just a generous garnish of parsley, and the red and green always looks so beautiful together. And then just some fresh black pepper on top. Some people add chickpeas to it. You can have some wholemeal toast with it, some gluten-free toast with it, lots of different ways to eat it, and enjoy it for lunch or breakfast or even dinner. It's really, 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 truly delicious.